Hello, hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm Ruby, this is Ruby Red, and this is my Squash That Series spring cleaning vlog. This is the last week of my semester, so I am stressed, but I am gonna do it anyway. Squash That Series is a readathon that my friend Bailey has been running for years, and it's so fun, and it's just a way to work on reading books and series so that you can finish some series since that seems to be something that a lot of people struggle with. This round is actually being run by Danielle from Danielle Reads and Lizzie from Lizzie's Literary Life, because Bailey was like, besties, I'm overwhelmed, but the people want a spring Squash That Series. Like typically there's like a spring and a fall, or like a winter, and you know, they happen twice a year. So anyway, Bailey reached out for help and help came through. So this is girls supporting girls. We love to see it. And so this is Squash That Series spring cleaning, where there's a map of a house, or a blueprint, sorry, a map of a house. Who am I? We have a blueprint of a house, and there's like different rooms in the house that each have their own sort of theme and reading prompts. And the way that I wanted to play it is to spring clean every single one of these that I have, because I don't have all of these rooms in my own house. So I wanted to do the backyard, the bedroom, the closet. I do not have a hallway. I have a kitchen and a living room, but then I don't have a dining room. So we're gonna skip two of the categories and just be able to fill one prompt from all of those. And so I can do that with just 2 books this week, which was my original plan, but then I had to sort of adjust my expectations of myself because there's another prompt that does fit. It's because of TBR Trails, The Quest. Okay, I had to read a book by an Australian author or an Australian book or something, so I might have changed my plan, but I might not do any of this anyway. I'm doing my best, but it's gonna be a crazy week for me mentally. Okay, the backyard. I am going to be reading a sequel to a 5-star, which is Adrift in Currents, Clean and Clear. I have an arc of that I never read because I was saving it for Squash That Series. And here we are, I'm gonna read it for Squash That Series. That's book 10 in the Wayward Children series, and I have rated at least one of them 5 stars before. So that's my backyard book. And then for the bedroom, I decided on the prompt lowest rated sequel. The bedroom prompts are diabolical. Lowest rated sequel, boo. Longest sequel, no. Most intimidating, so I didn't want to do any of those, but my lowest rated sequel is Paris Dalincourt is About to Crumble, which is the sequel to Rosalind Palmer Bakes a Cake or something. It's an Alexis Hall baking romance series, so that's the next book. That's my lowest rated, so I could get an audiobook from that. A romance audiobook would be a quick and easy read for me. Then we move into the closet. There's a bunch of prompts in the closet, and I like these, but the closet, I feel like that's about like owned books. And so for that, I'm picking the book that I've owned, the sequel that I've owned the longest. And I'm saying that's Wayward Children number 10 also, Adrift in Currents, Clean and Clear, because I don't really own any other sequels. So that was gonna be tough for me. Okay, we're skipping the hallway. We are going into the kitchen. This is where it's dicey. So this is like things you were not sure about. So I'm picking a book from a series you're considering DNFing, and that I'm picking The Dry number 2. I wish I wrote down what that is called. Okay, that's book 2 in the Aaron Falk series. So Force of Nature by Jane Harper would be the book I pick for that. And that's also, I can get an audiobook of that, and it's shorter than the romance, but it doesn't fit any of the bedroom prompts. So if I chose to do that, which I would do because of TBR Trails, The Quest, that would get me there. That would be a prompt that could fit both reading situations. So that's probably gonna be my priority audiobook, because the Paris, the Alexis Hall book is also like a series that I wasn't so determined to finish. It's like I was maybe gonna not keep reading it. So that one also could have fit into the kitchen prompt, but The Dry only fits that prompt. Okay, finally we're gonna move into the living room. That's the last room, and that's read a sequel that counts for another challenge. And for me, a challenge that I'm doing this year, a little project I'm working on, is actually 2 things. One, getting down my own TBR to like 10 to 15 books. And the other challenge is getting my NetGalley ratio to 90% or higher. And so I'm going to read Adrift in Currents, Clean and Clear for that one also. So 1, 2, 3, 3 prompts with that one book, and then the dry. I could get the last 2 prompts with Paris Dalencourt, but I'm going to try to read the dry. That's the plan. It's already day 2. I am about 40 or 50% into Adrift in Currents, Clean and Clear already, because I started it a little bit yesterday and then a little bit this morning, and it's a pretty short book. That's why I picked it for this. So I'll probably finish that. I don't know that I'll finish it today, but I will definitely finish it this week. Not concerned about that. I was having a blast yesterday out and about in the town. I volunteered to do some like park maintenance cleanup with a whole group of people in town, and it was really fun. Today I'm sore. I'm tired. I have a lot to do. Good morning, series squashers. It is the 3rd day of Squash That series, and I did wake up early to read. I finished Adrift in Currents, Clean and Clear last night, actually. It's a short book, and they're fast to read. You know, the writing is speedy, and I liked it fine. I think some of those books are a total hit and some are total miss, and I think it can really just depend on the reader. Like, but because they're so short and they are like fun time, like I'm interested in the worlds typically, so yeah, I'm gonna definitely keep reading them. I think I just rated that one 3 stars. It was shockingly so much about turtles, and there's actually a turtle right in the middle of the cover, so like my bad for not realizing that was a signal that the book would be entirely about turtles. But I did like getting to know a drowned world. I know we've heard a little bit about them from the other Wayward Children in this series, but this is the first time I think we've really been like experiencing one, and the sheer nonsense of how the water works was just like, I kind of was like, okay, like, yeah, sure, it makes no sense. Let's roll with it. Bold choice. But interesting, you know, interesting concepts all around in that world. The ending, wow. The ending really shocked me. And I liked it, but really what I liked about it was just that something happened. I feel like the book was mainly just like exploring the world. There were a few plot points actually, but they didn't really, I don't know. Anyway, so good book, great, we're done with that one. And that's 3 of my rooms done. I forget which ones right now, but got it. So after I finished it, I realized that I needed another audiobook for this week. I have the 2 ebooks, Paris Dalencourt's About to Crumble and Force of Nature, which I did start yesterday. And I was sort of like, well, what else can I fit into here? So I have one other owned sequel, and it's book 3 from, I don't know what the series is called, Anita Kelly's Nashville in Love series or something. I read Love and Other Disasters, which was the first book years ago, and then I didn't read the second book and I got an ARC for the 3rd book. And I'm reading that. I'm not going to read the second one. So I could count this as continuing a series you were going to DNF, because I have not really been excited to read this. Maybe I could also count it for the bedroom as like intimidating. It's not really that it intimidated me. It's just that I felt like I wasn't going to like it. It's a basketball coach kind of thing. So I'm not sure where I'm going to fit this, but it is a sequel, even though it's a book 3 when I've only read the book 1, but that's fine. So I started that. It's about a woman named, I was literally just reading it, Jules, who is a high school basketball coach, and her like basketball playing idol, Elle something, shows up on her court after practice one day, and she's like, "Urgh," and she's totally freaking out, and Elle's like, I don't know, they have a weird interaction, but basically Elle is the aunt of one of her players and the temporary like caregiver to that student, Vanessa. So she basically just comes to like introduce herself and then they're gonna fall in love. I don't have any thoughts about that book really so far, but I am gonna keep also listening to the Aaron Falk mystery, so then maybe that'll be 3 books this Squash That series. No promises though. Okay, it is day 4 of Squash That series and I have an update. I have, as we know, finished Wayward Children number 10, Adrift in Currents Clean and Clear. That was for the backyard prompt. Did I say what the prompts were earlier? I hope I did. The backyard prompt, I think that was sequel to a 5-star. And then also for the living room, which is for another reading challenge, which is reading my own TBR done. I slotted it in for a closet prompt, longest owned, but I think I've definitely had the arc for the Anita Kelly book that I'm reading, The Basketball Romance. I've had that arc longer. It's just that I considered that series kind of a DNF. I was not really interested in reading the next book or the 3rd book. Like, when it came down to it, I requested that arc because I really liked Love and Other Disasters. It's a baking romance and it had a non-binary love interest, which I had never read before and I thought was awesome. But then I just, like, I didn't want to read this basketball one. Sometimes I should not have access to NetGalley. So I think that one's actually going to be what I slot in for the longest owned sequel. So I've got 2 books with the Wayward Children, and then I've got The Closet with Wayward Children number 10, and then a series that I was considering DNFing. Obviously, I could also use the Anita Kelly book for that, but I'm going to use the dry for that. Oh god, it's not called the dry. Force of Nature, which is the dry number 2. I have made it to about 60% of the basketball romance. It's fine. Most of the time that I'm reading it, I am thinking about how it's going to bring my average rating down because it's definitely, like, I don't think it will get above a 3-star. I don't think it will get below a 3-star, but I just, like, I can't see giving it a 4. So that's a bummer for my average rating because that's also how I felt about the Wayward Children book, and that's kind of also how I feel about the Aaron Falk book. So this is not a high-rated STS round for me, but I'm just happy to be here. And this is an arc, so I'm happy to be getting the arc off my list. 2 arcs. Fantastic. You know, the characters are very much like characters, you know? They each have their own personality and life and situations, and we get to see both sides of that. So I think that's valuable. It's not just like one of them like blindly lusting after the other or anything. And I think there's a lot of like figuring things out. That's like good stuff, I guess. It just is a lot about basketball. So if you're into that, there's that. That's kind of all I'm gonna say about that. It's fine. The other one, the Aaron Falk one, it's about like a corporate retreat gone wrong. So there's a corporate retreat. They split the men and the women apart into teams basically, and they have to travel through the wilderness to get to various checkpoints and then make it back to the starting point. They have maps and supplies and stuff, but it's like, you know, teamwork, team building, whatever. And they all like leave from the same point, but then the men come back and the women don't. And then the women do come back, they're really late, and one of them's missing. And so now I forget how Aaron Falk, who's our detective, got brought into it, but he's out there with like some other cops and they're trying to find them, and we're also getting the backstory of all of the, you know, corporate retreat people, like the drama, you know, it's exactly what you think of you know, of a thriller of that description, you know what I mean? So I'm listening to it. It is fine. But when this is over, when this Squash That series is over, I'm gonna read some really good books. I'm gonna get some 5 stars to balance this out, okay? I swear. I finished a book today. The book is How You Get the Girl. That's the name of it, by Anita Kelly, okay? And it was fine. I feel so weird about it, and here's the deal. I think this book had good, you know, sexuality representation, like exploring, like, you know, being on the ace spectrum, being, you know, demi, being a lesbian, being bi, being pan, like what's going on, and it did a good job exploring that journey for someone, and also the pros and cons of going on that journey, like the need for labels, the benefits of having a label versus like the cost of like trying to define yourself so definitively. So I liked that. There was good mental health stuff. We have characters experiencing depression and talking, you know, frankly and earnestly about how they manage that depression and what treatment, you know, works or doesn't work, etc. There is a foster care situation that I don't know how realistically that was handled, but I feel like it brought up a lot of good stuff about parenting. And this book also wraps up the stories of the other two couples from this series, London and Dahlia, and the couple from the book I didn't read. So I think that was also kind of special, and it made this feel like more of a series than other like romance series. Like the other characters from this book played a huge role, and their relationships and their stories also like played, you know, had an impact on at least one of our main characters. So there was also stuff that about like, you know, finding your passion or whatever. Like sometimes a job is just a job, and then sometimes you want a job that's more than just a job, and sort of like, you know, the benefits of starting over and how scary and upsetting it can be to try to work through that. I don't know, they're just this, so it's on paper excellent, you know, so much going on. The writing was totally fine. I didn't feel wowed by it, but I also never felt like upset by it. So that's good. But like I felt so about it. That's my review. I don't know what else I can say. All right, we've reached the end of Squash That series, spring cleaning, and it really was spring here. It was raining, and now it's sunny and beautiful and wonderful, and I don't have much time to chat, but I did finish Force of Nature yesterday, like barely, and I didn't really like it in the end. I felt like, for some reason, it just really feels like it was written by a man. Some of the ways that the women interacted, I was like, ugh. Wrong. Overall, I just like, I didn't like the plot, I didn't like the story, I didn't like how everything got revealed, I didn't like how any of the characters were written, I did not like it. I will not be reading any more of those books, so 2 stars. This round of Squash That series, I ended up giving the basketball one 3 stars. I like barely remember that already. And Adrift in the Current, the turtle book, also 3 stars, so 2 3s and a 2 is not good ratings, and it's not going to be good for my annual, like my yearly average, which I want to keep high. So I really need to read some good books right now, because those were all meh. And potentially part of the problem is that, well, 2 of them were series that I was not really planning to continue. But I'm gonna get the points for TBR Trail for my team for that Australia book, at least. And I don't know, it's good to have a project every now and then. So happy Squash That series. Thank you for watching. I hope you had a good Squash That series season. This one was rough for me personally, but I'm glad we were out here keeping the dream alive, and I'm excited for the next round already. Yeah, that's right. Something about this readathon just always is good. So thanks, Bailey, for creating it, and thanks, Lizzie and Danielle, for hosting this one. Keeping it going. Okay, so yeah, bye.